Just so you know, the VIX is actually measured using the implied volatilities of the most traded S&P 500 options. So in practice, it literally is just an indicator of market sentiment of the equity market, just forward-looking. Yeah, just like, that's gay. Because I don't give a shit what people... Given what the market looks like right now, can anyone sincerely say they give a shit what the people in the market think the market will look like? I don't have a high opinion of these people, to be honest with you. I don't think they're very... It's not that they're not bright. It's just that, like, what do you expect when you set a system up for gambling like this, right? Like, you're not... the system is set up to encourage this kind of behavior. This is the point, right? Everything's functioning the way it's supposed to. Can we Europeans call you Ameripores now? No, we're still wealthier than you are. Like, by quite a bit. But don't worry, you'll catch up. This kind of behavior is unprecedented, though. I mean, we kind of saw this exact same market behavior back in 2008, 1987, and, you know, 31 or whatever, right? 33, I don't know. Whatever the wackiest years of the Great Depression were in terms of stock trading. No, seriously, this level of sell-offs of bonds and commodities to keep the stock market afloat is really sus. Well, how many bonds are being sold? How do you track that? The yield hasn't gone down that much for the 10-year. Look at the yield going up. Sorry, yeah, going up, not going down. But it hasn't... Well, it's at 4.4 right now. I guess, yeah, it hasn't really, like, moved. It's been hovering at 4.4 for 3 days. Check since Sunday. 4.4 isn't enough to warrant the level of paranoia that some people... I think people were operating on the understanding that this was going to continue to go up. If it hovers here, that's interesting, but I don't know how much that means, really. The problem is that inflation is still going way up soon. It's pretty down right now. It's pretty down right now. Same with crypto and gold. I guess. How is it down? Inflation is down. There was a report that came out today. I don't know, man. Damn, look at how much people were buying into this shit. Right around here. I feel like all the news on this is blurring together in my head. Yeah, that's probably warranted.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And we begin this hour with President Trump set to meet with his cabinet as a key part of his second-term agenda hangs in the balance right now up on Capitol Hill. And after a week of...
Keep in mind, too much deflation is bad because it shows reduced consumer spending and confidence. Yeah, I'm a little bit more interested in the quarterly spending report than I am in inflation metrics at this point. Because, like, you would expect inflation to go down during a recession. A recession should, like, ideally, should correlate to low inflation. So I guess it's really just a matter of, like, how much you're having stagflation. Yeah, well, we're not having stagflation right now. When it doesn't, that's stagflation. Yeah, which is bad.
Tariff whiplash here in the United States as the president's trade war clearly intensifies.
And as we know, Wall Street doesn't like the uncertainty, right? Wednesday's green bounce after the tariffs were paused, that has turned into Thursday's red reality check. Let's go to CNN Chief National Affairs Correspondent Jeff Zeleny at the White House.
I think Wall Street does like uncertainty, actually. I think they're fine with it, you know? They love the gambling. They love that shit.
White House. And Jeff, you have reporting along with your White House colleagues about how this all came to be with the pause and this cabinet meeting today as well.
Good morning, Pamela. It certainly was an extraordinary turn of events yesterday, not even quite 24 hours ago, but we have learned that it certainly was the advice that the president was receiving from some members of his cabinet, including the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who will be in that room today when the cabinet is meeting. He was the one, of course, who was really sounding the alarm and telling the president how deep the bond markets were reacting to the president's sweeping tariff plan. So one thing that this whole situation has really shined a light on are the differing pieces of advice that the president was hearing from Scott Bessent, for example, the Treasury Secretary, versus his longtime trade advisor, Peter Navarro, who was urging the president not to make negotiations. A big question, though, heading into this cabinet meeting, is Elon Musk going to be in the room? We have not seen much of him in recent days, but he's been very active on social media. And his view on this sweeping tariff plan was that it was...
You see some of the shit Elon's been up to, apart from getting, like, harassed while playing Path of Exile and dying to a tutorial boss or whatever. Apart from that stuff, wasn't he, like, replying to an e-girl who was horny posting on social media? Yeah, this one. Are you currently playing? Oh, wait, no, this is from March 30th, or March 20th, sorry. This isn't super recent. Unca Freak. Oh, that's recent. Hey, baby, will you do some live stream tonight? And it's Captain America Pepe. And he's replying, he's doing reply guy shit. He's gonna, do you think he's going to select her for, like, sex-selective IVF? He's the oldest 14-year-old. Not to, like, completely infantilize him, because he is very, very evil. But I do genuinely wonder if he actually has, like, a serious learning disability. Like, not just autism or whatever, but I mean, like, sometimes you really have to wonder. I don't know. In a good society, he would have no money, and he would be attending regular classes, and he would be a very special boy in class, and he'd have, like, a nice hat.
Not good for the economy. So he was throwing stones, quite literally, at the top trade advisor. But the top economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, talked about the cabinet meeting earlier like this.
USTR has informed us that there are maybe 15 countries now that have made explicit offers that we're studying and considering and, deciding whether they're good enough to present to the president. The Chief of Staff's office has asked all the principals that have, skin in the game to come and discuss what their views are about how this should go. And that's what the purpose of the meeting is.
So the offers that Kevin Hassett is talking about there are from allies like Japan, South Korea.
Is that typical, by the way? We're hearing out, keep in mind, the president is the head of the head of state. We're hearing out their trade offers and seeing if they're worthy of bringing to the president. Like, doesn't that, we talk a lot about how Trump isn't in charge here, but, that really does. Oh, no. Trump is too important to bother with this menial day-to-day gigantic trade deal with allied nation of ours based on policy he wrote into law. Why don't you talk to us and, we'll relay it to the president.
And others who have opened lines of communication trying to lower their tariff percentage with the president. So this is all coming as the trade war is very much still on with China. There is no question about that. But the U.S. is trying to circle our allies, if you will, Wolf, to have a united front against China.
And it's interesting, Jeff, Kevin Hassett is also pushing back on suggestions that President Trump actually manipulated the markets when he told people it was a, quote, good time to buy only hours before announcing the pause. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff of California.
That is obviously, objectively market manipulation, even if it's unintentional from Trump, because Trump himself is stupid and not in charge. It's obviously that.
We were at the Panama Canal with their Southcom commander ships, F-18s, troops, and signed a couple of historic deals. One which is with the Panama Canal Authority, a framework for U.S. vessels, first and free through the Panama Canal. Right. And then also a memorandum of understanding with their security minister for the presence of U.S. troops. Fort Sherman is an old U.S. base there. As well as a naval station and air station jointly with Panama to secure the Panama Canal from Chinese influence. That's something you said, we're taking back the canal. China's had too much influence. Obama and others let them creep in. We, along with Panama, are pushing them out, sir. And so we had a very successful trip there. President Molino sends his regards, very complimentary of the U.S.
Let me take a look. What were the details of this this joint effort to push out Chinese influence from Panama? So what was China doing and what are they now doing? Just prior to the news conference, the U.S. and Panama signed a memorandum of understanding related to cooperative securities activities in the region, and that the signing of an additional declaration related to the security and operation of the Panama Canal would be forthcoming. That declaration would provide a framework for U.S. warships and auxiliary ships to travel, quote, first and free through the canal. Okay. Increased level of joint training exercise between the two countries. What? Increased level of joint training exercises between the United States of America and Panama, and improve overall interoperability between both nations' military forces by reestablishing rotational joint presence at a handful of previously operational U.S. military installations. Okay, so we're paying more money to put soldiers in defunct military bases in the area, including Rodman Naval Station, a Howard Air Force Base. Gotcha, because we got to spend $1 trillion on the Pentagon, on the yearly The annual military budget. Obviously got to find a place to put those soldiers somewhere. And what does this entail? Why is this being done? Panamanian Public Forces. Panama is the second country in Latin America to abolish its standing army, with Panama retaining a small paramilitary security force. Well, I can't wait for our joint naval exercises. I'm sure they'll be really interesting, you know? We can, you know, run a carrier group through there while they do, like, you know, coordinated swimming or something. I don't okay. Yeah, a real power team. Us and them. Through our powers combined, we will finally push out the nefarious Chinese, the perfidious Chinese, who were doing what exactly? When asked whether the U.S. still recognizes Panama's sovereignty over the canal, Hegseth said that protecting Panamanian sovereignty from aligned influences in the region is essential. Okay. This is the biggest nothing burger I've ever seen, man. Are you kidding me? Presently, there are 2 U.S. Navy guided missile cruisers, 1 U.S. Coast Guard cutter, 4 F-18 fighter jets, and over 1,000 U.S. service members, including a U.S. Marine Corps infantry company training and exercising with the Panamanians. Okay, so it seems like what we're trying to do here, we're trying to do like basic Cold War. What am I saying? I can't talk. My career is over. I'm shutting the channel down. I'm hitting stop streaming on OBS. I'm going to not hit stop streaming on OBS. I'm pulling it together. I'm coming back at it even harder this time. It seems like we're doing a basic Cold War fake alliance against the nefarious East type deal here, where we're pretending that we're securing their autonomy and our diplomatic relations, when in reality we're just funding a military base or 2 on their property. We did this with Panama before. It's not new. It's just like China wasn't doing anything. They weren't doing anything. It's just an excuse to flex a little bit, but we're not doing anything. And Panama asks, Trump, will you really protect us from the Chinese? Trump looked at them and said, my friend, Panamanians, along with Americans, make up 5% of the world's population and 17% of the world's GDP. Nothing can stop us. In addition to partnering to secure the Panama Canal, Hegg says that the 2 countries are also working in tandem to counter violent cartels, criminal enterprises. Of course, as well as securing their respective countries' borders. I'm sure. Okay, big nothing burger, nice.